Hey everyone, welcome back. Thanks for joining us. Today we've got a brand new story to share with you. So let's begin. The scent of blueberry pancakes filled the kitchen as Mikey O'Connell flipped a golden brown disc onto a growing stack. Across the counter, his 8-year-old son, Finn, swung his legs while chattering excitedly about his latest Lego creation. And then, Dad, I put the dragon on top of the castle. It has huge red wings and everything. Mikey smiled, steadying Finn's glass of orange juice before it tipped over. Careful there, buddy. Sounds like a masterpiece. The morning routine was familiar, comforting. Usually Ava, his wife, would be here too, sipping coffee and teasing Finn about his messy hair. But lately, she'd been leaving early, claiming extra hours at her kindergarten teaching job. Mikey had brushed off the changes at first, chalking them up to stress. Their financial struggles had forced Ava to take on more shifts, while he fought to keep his construction business afloat. Still, something felt off. Dad? Finn's voice pulled him from his thoughts. Can you make the smiley face again? Mikey chuckled, grabbing the whipped cream. As he drew 2 eyes and a grin on Finn's pancakes, his mind drifted to the past. College days when he and Ava had dreamed big. Their wedding in a small church, the moment Finn was born. Had it all been real, or just a carefully crafted illusion? You okay, Dad? You're squeezing the whipped cream too hard. Mikey looked down, realizing he'd nearly emptied the can onto Finn's plate. Sorry, buddy. Just thinking. He shook off the unease and went through their usual routine, breakfast, school drop-off, then heading to work. But as he drove, a nagging feeling refused to leave him. That evening, Finn practically bounced into the car after school, his excitement palpable. Amazing day, Dad. John picked me up again. Mommy's special friend. Mikey's hands tightened on the steering wheel. John? He kept his voice steady. Yeah, he got me ice cream and showed me my new room at his house. He said soon I won't have to go back and forth, 'cause we're all moving in together. The words slammed into him like a wrecking ball. His grip on the wheel turned his knuckles white, but he forced a smile. Your new room, huh? That's interesting. It's awesome, Dad. It's got blue walls and a space for all my Legos. John said I can decorate it however I want. Mikey's heart pounded, but he kept his voice light. That's great, champ. Hey, how about a deal? If you finish your homework before dinner, you get to pick dessert. Really? Even ice cream? Even ice cream. The drive home was agony. Every word Finn spoke about John, their outings, his so-called promises, drove another nail into the coffin of Mikey's marriage. Signs he had ignored came rushing back. Ava's late nights, secretive phone calls, her sudden need for space. He had been blind. At home, Mikey went through the motions, helping Finn with homework and making dinner, all while his mind pieced together the puzzle of Ava's betrayal. Had she been planning this for months? Years? He had given everything to this family. Yet here he was, blindsided. That night, after Finn was asleep, Mikey sat alone in the kitchen, staring at his untouched dinner. The house felt different now, tainted. Every framed photo mocked him. Smiling faces, moments he had cherished, now nothing more than an elaborate lie. He pulled out his phone, thumb hovering over Ava's contact. The urge to call her, to demand answers, was overwhelming. But no, he needed proof. He needed to know exactly what he was dealing with before making his move. Tomorrow everything would change. Sleep eluded him. Every time he closed his eyes, Finn's innocent voice echoed in his mind. Mommy's special friend. Moving in together. By morning, Mikey had made up his mind. After dropping Finn off, he drove home, bypassing his usual route to work. Today, he had a different mission. Ava had left in a hurry, as always. But in her rush, she had forgotten something. Her phone, charging on the nightstand. Mikey hesitated for only a second before picking it up. The passcode was Finn's birthday. It unlocked on the first try. What he found made his stomach turn. A text thread labeled, John Client, filled the screen. Hundreds of messages, pictures, plans for a future together with Finn. Meeting times, heart emojis, whispered promises. His vision blurred as he scrolled through months of betrayal. John Becker, local real estate agent. The polished, smooth-talking type. A quick search confirmed his suspicions. Becker had money, connections, and now, apparently, Ava. Mikey dialed Ava's number from his own phone. She answered cautiously. "Mikey? Everything okay? Come home. Now." A pause. "I have classes. Either you come home now, or I show up at your school and we have this conversation in front of your colleagues. Your choice." Silence. Then, "I'll be there in 20 minutes. Those 20 minutes felt like an eternity. Mikey sat at the kitchen table, staring at John Becker's grinning social media profile. The man had everything Mikey wasn't. Polished, wealthy, corporate. The kind who wore suits to work instead of steel-toed boots. Who made deals in boardrooms instead of on construction sites. The sound of Ava's key in the lock snapped him back to the present. She stepped inside cautiously. "Mikey, what's going on? You're scaring me. Sit down." She did, hands fidgeting with her purse strap. "You're acting strange." Mikey slid her phone across the table. "Tell me about John." The color drained from her face. Mikey, it's not. Not what? Not what it looks like." He laughed, the sound hollow. "John Becker, real estate agent. The man who's been picking up our son from school. The man showing him his new room." Ava's lips parted, but no words came out. "The man you've been sleeping with." "Mikey, please, I can explain." "Explain?" His voice was ice. "Explain why another man is making promises to my son. Why you've been planning a life with him while pretending everything is fine here." The dam broke. Tears spilled down her cheeks. I felt unseen, unappreciated. John. He noticed me. He listened. He made me feel alive again. Mikey let out a cold, bitter laugh. "Unseen? I've worked 60-hour weeks to keep this family afloat. I've been here every morning making Finn's breakfast, every afternoon picking him up, every weekend at his soccer games. But that wasn't enough for you, was it?" "It's not about time or money," she whispered. "It's about connection. When was the last time we really talked? Don't you dare try to make this my fault." Mikey's voice dropped to a dangerous whisper. "You chose to cheat. You chose to involve our son. John is my soulmate." The words left her lips in a breathless confession. "We're in love." Mikey's world tilted. His stomach churned. Then, like a lightning strike, a thought cut through the haze of rage and betrayal. "Is Finn mine?" Ava's silence was deafening. Then, in a barely audible voice, "Since he was born." Mikey stared at her, his world unraveling with each second of her silence. Some part of him still wanted to believe she would deny it, that this was some cruel misunderstanding. But deep down, he already knew the truth. "Since he was born?" he repeated, his voice barely above a whisper. Ava's lips trembled. "I didn't know for sure at first. I thought." "You thought?" His chair scraped against the floor as he shot up. "You let me believe Finn was mine for 8 years, and you thought?" "Mikey, please," she pleaded, tears streaming down her face. "It was never supposed to happen this way. I love you. I loved us." "No," he said coldly, his voice eerily calm, colder than he had ever heard it. "You loved the stability I provided. The safety." His jaw clenched. "You let me raise a child that wasn't mine while the real father played mommy's special friend behind my back." Ava flinched at his words. "It doesn't change the fact that you are his father. The only one he's ever known." Mikey scoffed. "You don't get to decide that anymore." He turned away, gripping the edge of the counter to steady himself. His entire life had just imploded, but rage and betrayal kept him upright. He needed space, clarity. He needed a plan. "Get out." His words were sharp, final. "Mikey, get out." "Ava." His fists clenched at his sides. "Pack whatever you need and go. I'll have my lawyer contact you about the divorce." Ava sobbed, but she must have seen the resolve in his face because she grabbed her bag and hurried toward the bedroom. Mikey didn't watch her go. He simply stood in the kitchen, staring at the remnants of their morning. Finn's half-eaten pancakes. The whipped cream canister still tipped over. The world had shifted beneath his feet. and he wasn't going to let them get away with it. Mikey barely slept that night. Rage and betrayal twisted inside him, keeping him awake long after Ava had left. By dawn, he had made his decision. He wouldn't just walk away. No, he would make sure Ava and John paid for their deception. He started with information. Using the number he had pulled from Ava's phone, he ran a deep search on John Becker. Within hours, he knew everything. Where John worked, where he lived, what kind of real estate deals he had going on. It wasn't hard to find cracks in his seemingly perfect world. Becker was flashy, but reckless. His business dealings were murky at best, built on loopholes and half-truths. Mikey smirked. Perfect. Next, he needed proof. Concrete evidence of Ava's infidelity, of John's role in their deception. He needed someone who could dig deep. That's when he found her. You're serious about this? Isabella Izzy Ramirez, private investigator, arched a skeptical brow as she leaned back in her chair. Mikey slid an envelope across the table. $3,000 up front. I want everything on John Becker and Ava O'Connell. Where they go, who they meet, any dirt you can find. Izzy tapped the envelope against the table, considering. You're not looking for reconciliation, are you? I'm looking for justice. A slow smile spread across her face. Then you came to the right place. As Mikey left her office, a new feeling settled in his chest, overtaking the betrayal, determination. Ava and John thought they had won. They thought they could rewrite history, erase him from his own life. They had no idea who they were dealing with. Mikey sat in his truck outside John Becker's real estate office, watching through the tinted glass. The man had no idea his life was about to implode. Izzy's reports had been thorough. John's business was built on shady deals. His reputation propped up by lies. It wouldn't take much to bring it all crashing down. Mikey smirked. Let's get to work. Started small. An anonymous tip to the city inspector about one of John's latest projects. Violations, safety concerns, things that couldn't be ignored. Within days, inspectors swarmed the site, halting construction and costing John thousands in delays. Then came the whispers. Through carefully crafted social media accounts, Mikey spread word of John's questionable business practices. Posts surfaced about clients being scammed, properties sold under false pretenses, and corners cut during construction. The information was all true. Izzy had found plenty of dirt, but strategically placed for maximum impact. John's reputation began to crumble. Ava wasn't spared either. Mikey leaked the truth about their affair into the PDA and school circles. Ava, the beloved kindergarten teacher, suddenly found herself the subject of hushed conversations and disapproving glances. Parents grew wary, questioning whether someone who had lied so effortlessly should be shaping young minds. Her colleagues distanced themselves, and soon, she was called into the principal's office. The stress was starting to show. Izzy's surveillance photos captured it all. Ava and John arguing in public, their smiles forced, their once perfect romance unraveling under pressure. John was drinking more, Ava was crying more, and the cracks were deepening. Mikey wasn't done yet. You sure about this? Izzy asked, handing Mikey a folder filled with John's financials. Absolutely. John had overleveraged himself, taking out massive loans to maintain his lifestyle. Mikey had a contact at the bank. One well-placed rumor about John defaulting on his payments, and the bank moved quickly. Within weeks, John's accounts were frozen, his assets under scrutiny. The fancy cars, the luxurious apartment, it was all slipping away. And then came the final blow. Mikey sat in the back of the auction hall, watching John fidget as the bidding began. This was John's last chance to save himself. A high-profile real estate deal that would have secured his future. Mikey let him think he had a chance. Then, at the last moment, O'Connell Construction placed a bid. A bid just high enough to ensure John was out of the running. John's face drained of color. Mikey walked past John as he signed the contract, pausing just long enough to whisper, "Karma's a bitch, isn't it?" John didn't answer. He just stood there, frozen, as the weight of his downfall settled in. By the end of the week, John's company had collapsed. Investors pulled out, lawsuits piled up, and bankruptcy loomed. Ava, realizing the man she had betrayed her family for was nothing more than a fraud, fell into despair. Mikey watched it all unfold, satisfied. They had destroyed his life. Now he had returned the favor. But he wasn't done yet. John Becker had lost everything. His business lay in ruins, his assets frozen, and his reputation tarnished beyond repair. The man who once flaunted wealth and confidence now looked broken, his tailored suits replaced with cheap, wrinkled clothes. Mikey watched from a distance. His work was almost complete. Ava wasn't doing any better. The scandal had forced her to resign from the school, unable to withstand the judgment of her colleagues and the whispers of parents. The dream she had chased with John had crumbled into a nightmare. They were drowning, and Mikey had one final move left. Ava and John sat in their cramped apartment, their once luxurious home long gone. Bills piled on the table, unopened. Empty wine bottles cluttered the counters. They barely spoke anymore, the weight of their failures pressing down on them like a vice. A sudden knock on the door made them jump. John groaned, rubbing his temples. If that's another debt collector. But when he opened the door, it wasn't a stranger. It was Mikey. You, John growled, his eyes bloodshot. What the hell do you want? Mikey stepped inside without waiting for an invitation. To finish what I started. Ava shrank back, fear flashing in her eyes. Mikey, please, save it. His voice was calm, but the fire in his eyes was unmistakable. I want you both to know exactly how this happened. How I dismantled everything you built. Every failure, every loss, it was me. John clenched his fists, but Mikey barely spared him a glance. Go ahead, take a swing. It won't change anything. Silence stretched between them before Mikey tossed a folder onto the table. Inside are your DNA test results, John. Just in case you ever doubted it, Finn is yours. Congratulations. You finally get to be a father. Ava's sob broke the silence, but Mikey felt nothing. I'm done here, he said, turning toward the door. Enjoy your new life. Months passed. Mikey had moved on, pouring himself into O'Connell Construction, which had grown into one of the most respected firms in the city. The revenge had been satisfying, but now he was ready for something more. It was time to rebuild. A message from his mother appeared on his phone. Finn asked about you today. He's ready to see you. Mikey hesitated, his finger hovering over the screen. Then finally he replied, set it up. He had lost a lot, but some things were still worth fighting for. 10 years later, Mikey sat in his office watching the city skyline. His company was thriving, his life stable. A knock at the door pulled him from his thoughts. Finn, now 18, stepped inside, his confidence mirroring his father's. Got time for lunch? He asked. Mikey smiled. Always. Some wounds never fully healed. But in the end, Mikey had built something stronger than revenge. He had built a future. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more stories like this. See you next time.